Welcome back to the Clay Studios oil painting tutorial. I'm Gomati Sivasankar and we are in class 7 of Dhairya Lakshmi painting. This is one of the Lakshmi avatars that is known for all the positive propensities of life, and this one is particularly known Dhairya, referring to courage or valor. And we have gone through layers 1, 2 and 3 in the earlier classes, and the last class, the recent class, was kickstarting layer 4, and we kickstarted with the skin tone and hair coloring and such of the girl, and we have kind of finished that. Right now we are ready to proceed with the next step on layer 4, which will be continuing layer 4 in other sections, such as the equipments that she is having, and also the clothing, and also the lotus flower that she is seated on. So we'll work on that now and see how that goes. The jewelry part, we are going to leave it for another class so we can focus on the jewelry. Yes, so let's start working on the things that are there in her hand and also her clothing. We can get started with something that is really light, that is the shank or conch, yeah, or a seashell sort of a thing that is there in her hand, that is white, and it is not totally titanium white. And I remember we did that, when we did that we mixed a little bit of color. So we are going to work on that first and then get started into working on further details that we have here. Okay, I actually noticed a few errors as well that we will try to fix when we go on to work on the on those things. Yeah. All right, so getting started with the white, and I'm going to use a clean brush. I have brush number 1 round. That's clean for me, and I will take a tiny bit of titanium white and to that I would mix a very tiny bit of yellow. So in a way I am creating a transparent color so that it isn't perfect white, and whatever we had we will reapply that. Yes. On this conch, and I'm going to look at how this looks like. Yes, so I have reapplied it, and we'll come back to this when we have other colors to work on, because there are colors relating to this that we will build in a short while from now. Yeah, so right now the focus is going to be on her clothing. Once we are done with her clothing, we can work on few other details of what she has in her hand and adjust things also. Yeah, and one other adjustment that I had in mind is that overall this particular picture is taking too much of space on the canvas. So I guess I will also make adjustments into the ring and the way the lotus flower is and such. So there are a few adjustments that's going to come along the line, because I feel that it is needed, at least in this case, yeah, where I am working on. So now let's move into the color that we used, the crimson. I think it was not crimson, it was vermilion that we used more into this. So let's take vermilion So I'm taking a round brush number 3, and I have taken a little bit of linseed oil in my brush already to just mellow down this vermilion. Okay, and I'm going to just first apply this on top of what we have, sort of filling it with this color tonality. Even in the section where I had drawn a border to the clothing, I have filled in that. So we're filling it in one more layer. And because I have added a bit more of oil, so it is translucent now, and it is showing actually the previous shades from the our layer 3. Yeah, but soon you'll see that we are going to use some shading and such. Yeah. Yes, I have filled this portion in, and now I want to add on another color to give it a bit of angle. This time I'm going to use crimson to shade up and give the velvety feel, but not too much. So I'm going to take a tiny portion of that crimson and use it in those sections where there is a highlight or something that is needed in terms of a highlight. Okay, so I have given it a tinge of coloring. I'll come back to it in a short while, just darkening the portion underneath the belt and such. Okay, so I'm starting to blend the color in. Maybe I will need a smaller brush, so I'm trying to take a smaller brush. I have a 0 brush, and I'm going to wipe it clean. Okay, to get started with this blending here, the shoulder line, I wanted it to be slightly, broadened here. And then let's now blend things in nicely. I'm going to use the same crimson as the border here. So it's going to look slightly different, but we will work on it when we come to applying the jewelry, if we need to do something with this or not. Because right now it seems like this is good enough. There's one more thing that I want to do, that is to create a kind of frill that is going around from the skirt. So I'm just going to pull some lines of crimson onto this, and blend that in. So now I'll take some more vermilion to go around one more layer to thicken up the rest of the portion. Yes. So it gets a velvety look. And I'm doing it for the skirt, and I will go up in a short while with the same kind of texture. So it's just we did apply a couple of layers actually, if you see, one a thin one and another one on top. And we blended in this crimson also in some places to just give a velvety look there. And there is this shade. Let's do the filling of the vermilion to blend it in with the crimson. Just gonna make it slightly, because she looks totally thin. I don't want her to. She's got a thin frame, but she need not look so thin also. So I'm just gonna make her look slightly healthy. Okay, I think I have managed to shade here. I just need a bit of shading here. I don't know if I'm going to keep this design, but I'd rather do a bit of shading with crimson as well here, because there's going to be, with the jewelry, when we come to the jewelry, there'll be a lot of new things that are going to evolve here. So I'm just giving it a slight shading, leaving it there. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to work on is these equipments, whatever she has in her hands. So let's start with something that is, let's look at the picture. So there are, usage of yellow ochre. I think we need yellow ochre to first do the chakra here in her hand, and also a little bit here. Let's do that first, and then come to using the yellow ochre. We can also fill in a little bit of so the bow and the vessel as well here, and then we can switch to a gray shade for the sword and also the arrow. So let's take one at a time. Yellow ochre needed, so I'm just going to switch to yellow ochre. And another brush possibly that could help. I'm taking another 0 brush that's got sort of used a long time, for many times, so it's flat headed, and I think that will help in this process. So I'm just going to take yellow ochre here. And I think I will add a bit of primary yellow to this, because I want it to be slightly on the lighter side. And this is a good enough one for me to work on, starting with the conch. I'll do the layer of the conch that has this top that is gold, and then it also has a bit of ear here, so I'll leave it like that. Yeah, so using that same color I'm going to fill in, which is really what we had used before as well. I can see doing that circle slightly bigger and doing the top of the circle and also the sides. The sides have a tail also. Yeah. So the center of the circle is detailed. We are going to work on that. Before we work on that, let's use this to fill in the bowl as well. Cool. Now we need the help of burnt umber to do certain things about the bowl and shadings and such. So I'm taking burnt umber. The burnt umber, I'm going to go into that, the inner edge of the bowl that is slightly darker, so I'm going to show that. Lay that shadow in. Yeah. Yes. And now I'll take a bit of ivory black and go in and deepen that darkness also. So there you go. So there's burnt umber layer, and then there's ivory black layer that is further enhancing that bowl's shape. So now we go back to the burnt umber, mix it with this ivory black for the bow. And I know the mistake that I have done that I should fix. So I'm first working on the bow, the shape of the bow, and building onto this. This is right. This string has to be thin enough. I think that's where I made the mistake. It is slightly thicker, but we'll draw the line, leave it, and then we will work on the background to fix the background as well. So there you go. This is the line of the bow, and let's give it a yellow ochre highlight. So lightening it up in some places, sort of catching the light. Yeah. And now let's go for the string. The string has to be slightly thin here. Yeah. So the extra space is going to be fixed when we redo the background. So let me go over this ear of thicker because this ear of the conch is missing, so I'm just fixing that now. So that's done. And now let's use this darker, whatever we have, burnt umber, to make a dent in this circle, because it's a chakra sort of a thing. It's a wheel sort of a thing that is appearing inside. So we'll have to work on that detail. Yeah. Moving this slightly closer to me here. Yes. So we're going to work on this detail, but before we go, we need a slight bit of this vermilion or crimson, anything that could help us to further enhance the depth. So I'm going to just keep that and shade that in like this. Leave it like that. And then take a smaller brush, possibly a micro brush or a 000. Yeah. Yes, that will be good to work on the details of the chakra. So it's a wheel. So you'll see that it's a wheel. So that it's going to be. So I'm taking burnt umber to create that wheels extra, the line, outline first, and then I go on and put in the center circle and create those, plug in those lines that go from the center circle to the outer circle of the wheel. Okay, once that is done, I'm going to take the help of titanium white to just fill it in between those. So not filling it totally with white, but letting it blend in those sections in between, so you can see that wheel better. Does that work? Yes. So that was it, and then I'm going to use the white to lighten up this section on the top. It's another layer, another detailing. I'm just going to give that detail of those ears to that chakra. Cool. And there is this, there is something that she is holding on to. Yeah. So I'm going to do that. I want to use a little bit of white to show that there is something that she is holding on to. Yeah, done. So that detail is taken care of, and I'm going to use this titanium white one more time to trace out that bows line and also the string. Done. All right, so that is taken care of. Now the focus can go to the negative space that has to be removed, isn't it? So I'm going to take titanium white and mark the space, so I know that I will have to correct this when I do the background color. Though it's in the short while that I'm going to do it, I would rather prefer to have this marked clearly. So we're able to fix this, yeah? And we are doing the background one more time. Yes. Okay. So now let's move on to the sword and also the arrow. The arrow is in almost, black to gray, I would say. So I'm going to take ivory black and thin it a little bit with titanium white. So it's slightly on the darker gray range to help me do the arrow first. The arrow's head, I just want to use a little bit of titanium white to show a shade there, and then move on to building the arrow. Looks fine. Yes, the focus is here. So let's do the arrow. The ivory black blended in a little bit with titanium white and is fine for us to work on. And I want to see if the arrow is coming. Okay, the arrow isn't coming in the front. The arrow is really behind the sword. Yeah. Again, there is okay. Same zero brush is going in here to do the I'm just doing the arrow's bottom, and I'm using a little more of titanium white to create a stroke sort of thing there in between. So there is clearly a shade out there created. Yes, done. So this is done, and let's focus right now on the sword. The sword itself is not this kind of gray, it's a lighter gray. So I'm just giving the sword's contours a lift with the color that I just mixed for the arrow. But very quickly I'm going to blend in white. Okay, that's done. I am going to quickly take burnt umber and yellow ochre to build a base here. for the swords. Yeah, so I have built it, and now I think I can move on to working on the sword itself. I am going to take another brush. This brush has so I'm going to take a bit of its brush number 1 round, and I'm going to take titanium white. Go ahead and blend a little too much of white there to turn this into a gray shade. And also the contours I just want to blend in, you know. Exactly. Yes. I guess we have the sword done. Titanium white, a little more to give that flash in that sword, the effect of the steel there. Does that go? That's a good one. I think we will need that also on the arrow, streak of it on the arrow as well. Yes. Those two are taken care of. Do we have any equipment per se left over? I think no. So the focus is going to shift to the lotus flower. Yeah. And then we move on to the fixing this background a little bit. Oh, sorry, the background fixing I think we'll have to do only after the jewelry is done, so we know in entirety what all changes we have done. So we will stick to the lotus flower and be done with this class as such. So let's take crimson and let's look at how the flower is. Okay, we don't see full of flower here in this picture though, but the logic is that the flower is dark in the bottom and then it lightens up in the top and the tips of the petal. That's the logic. And here I said I have some corrections to make also, so I'm just going to first do the corrections and then move on to working on the details. So the corrections are, for me, I think this shape is good enough. This shape is good enough, but the moment it gets slightly towards the side, then I don't want it to go. So I want it to look like a cup, and that was missing. I think that is missing still now. So I'm going to fix that ever so lightly. Taking in, okay, this color, this is a space where I marked something. So taking in this to be going underneath like this. That's one. And taking one more ring like that to go like this. That's where I want it to stop. So I don't want it to have this. Okay, so let's see if you can see a little more of what we have here in the bottom. Good. I think this is better. So you can see that it is, starting to create a sort of a cup shape here. So I wanted to do that and correct that. So that's one. And the other one is too big and I want to cut that down. The angle is fine, but I want to cut this down like this. And the bottom petals, they can be broader. That's fine. But these ones again, They have to go towards this angle, like this. So that's where the rework on the background is needed. So this is the correction that I wanted to make. I think it is starting to make some sense here with this cup shape, and let's work on this in detail now. So the logic is to take crimson and fill that in. I think I need a little more of crimson. I have some oil already on my palette, and I think I will not take more of it because I think I have enough now. So I'm going to rely on using the oil on the canvas itself and pulling a little more of crimson along the line here, darkening it up and the bottom and leaving the top aside for now. That's how the shading looks now, yeah? And very soon you will see that there's another shading kicking in. And that gives us a good impression of what we are doing here, yeah? So I want to use smaller brushes also now because there are some sections that are slightly, yeah, tricky. So these are the sections of crimson that is applied on to show the petals that are behind in the rear. Darkening up those spaces. And when we kick in a little more of white there, you will begin to see the difference in a short while. Yeah, let's do that. So I'm going to take titanium white and go for the tip of the lotus flower, and whatever I have, it's the same brush that I'm using round brush number 3, and I'm just going with it like this, and you see the petal. Yes, so let's do this white. So in this layer 4, what we are doing is not necessarily to take more of colors. We are using less of the colors, but we are blending in and making it also transparent a little bit, so that we are showing a bit of a layer 3 effect, in fact. So you're showing layer 3 in fact. So it gets transparent at times, and you can use it to hide, like what I did in corrections. There's a lot of corrections that I'm making, so that's where, yes, I will paint it fully. So in that case, it's a hiding, so it's covering up, and that layer is going to be thick. But in some places I really want it to be light, so it can show a little bit of what we have done in the previous layer. Titanium white. I'm only taking a little bit of it, and because I already have oil in my brush and I'm not taking another pinch of oil, I'm just surviving on what is there in the brush already, and it looks fine for now. Let's do the other petals as well. Fill that out. And also remember, you want to create some shades there, so I want to show that it is slightly darker here when it goes to the end of it. So these are slightly darker and then it gets mellowed down in the center. So I'm going to do the same thing here. Yes. Guess it is kind of adding up. We will refine it, but we need to also remove whatever is there in the previous thing. So let's do the same exercise here in the bottom petals that are flowing down. I'm adding a bit more of white in the center. These centerpieces, I want it to be lighter, so I'm just adding boldly a bit more of white. I think I need to place it like this to be able to do a little more. And the shade flows through from here. Yeah. And then it gets slightly darker. A tad bit of titanium white here, slightly darker. And this gets even darker. And I'm gonna add a little bit of ivory black to pep up this game. Just a moment, we will get to that in a short while. So that's the correct ones. Of course, we have the wrong ones appearing and disturbing us. We can hide it with white. Can we do okay, if it helps, we could use another brush to draw kind of white contour line for us to know, just like the way we did. So this is a contour line I'm drawing here to just tell myself, okay, that isn't I think it's got another color, sorry for that. So do the contours very quickly. So these contours are fine. So this is going to be the new contour here. That's fine. This one needs so that's how we are changing the shape. We need to just imagine the way she's seated. She's seated inside the flower, so we want the flower to be looking slightly, in that angle. I guess we managed it fine now with the contouring. So let's do a little more of playing around with ivory black in the brush. Gonna put ivory black right at the center in the spots. What is going on here? Let's see. These are the notches or the places where there is darkness. So I'm just going to boldly put that in, and very slowly I'll start blending it in. Blending more of it on the sides. sides and leaving that shoot to come up on this also. And yes, and this is where I stop with this brush because I need a thinner one to help me with the process. So I'm going to switch to a smaller brush and sort of mellow down that black there, yeah. Very thin, you know, slightly pull that color around and play around with it. It's mixing with the white. Didn't want that, but it's happening here. So I just, you know, even though the corrections could be irritating because it's not something you want to progress, but this is exactly how you learn, because you have been you've been thinking, yeah, you've been looking into options of making things better somehow, yeah, and you want to learn how to do it. So I think this is a good exercise for me also to correct this. And if you have already done it nicely, better than me, kudos to you, congratulations. If not, this is the time to fix. Yeah, I think the look of it now has changed to yes, to a kind of, you know, flowery one, and that is also looking viable here. So that's one thing for sure. I want to work on the jewelry in the next session, and then whatever background colors we need to adjust, we will do that adjustments also to finalize the layer 4. The jewelry itself is going to take one class because you will see that it has a lot of nuances that we will get started with technically in the upcoming class. Yes, but as of now we are good with the layer 4 of the clothing of Veera Lakshmi. You are done. Sorry, Dhairya Lakshmi. We are done with that. The shading looks good. If you want, you know, I'm just going to tweak in a bit of darker tonality here and blend it in a little bit, because I think there is some scope that is missing here. I just want to blend it in. Oh, so you're never done. See, so okay, I guess yeah, now she looks a little more, a tad bit defined in that space. Yes, okay, I'm going to make it a stop here, and let's meet up in the next session to work on our jewelry and also the background adjustments. Yes, until we meet next class, stay blessed, stay happy, stay healthy, stay motivated. Let's meet up. Bye bye.